What you need is your one center you have on your roster to be better enough to play more than 4 minutes in a playoff game. That's what you need. You need LeBron James, who is the second star on the team, your second max player. You only have 2 max players on that team. And he's the GOAT. He's old. I know he's old, and he's a GOAT to a lot of people. I understand all that. But I'm saying for LUKA, what LUKA needs is his star running mate to score more than 0 points in each clutch moment in each fourth quarter of the playoffs. You have to have that to win a game. You have to have role players. You have to have your second star do something offensively. LUKA is the only person who can manufacture anything on offense. You need Austin Reeves to look like regular season Austin Reeves and not this Spider-Man guy who's playing now. If you don't have those things, you're not winning. Now, with LUKA, I've never said like LUKA was the best player in the league. I never said like he's a GOAT or up there with the best ever or whatever. But what I have said is he's my favorite player to watch, and nobody can do anything with that white boy. It's my favorite term to use. Okay? And so when you get here now, the narrative is shifting, and I see it shifting in real time. Like today, the main talk on the national platforms is, wait a minute, Nico was right. Let's take a bigger step in, and oh man, LUKA is not even top 3, top 5. He's not top 10. The one guy was like, yeah, Anthony Edwards is way better. Look what's happening now. And then it going to other players. And I think that's nuts. When you look at the history of basketball, right? Like Michael Jordan is widely regarded as the greatest player of all time. When you ask most people throughout my history of living, most people that have that conversation say Michael Jordan is the greatest. But when you take way I watch basketball is I say, okay, Scottie Pippen, in my opinion, is the greatest defender ever. But no matter how you slice it, what metric you use, he's top 5 perimeter defender ever, no matter what you utilize or what you see. And then you have a large section of people who would say Dennis Rodman is a better defender than Scottie Pippen. They have him higher in the rank. So he's a certified Hall of Famer and that. And then you go to, one of the greatest overseas players of all time, all the knockdown 40% 3-point shooters and all of that, and Horace Grant and all these like star role players. Look at Giannis. Like Giannis hasn't gotten any worse. It's, Chris Middleton was a star role player when they won the championship. He got hurt, was no longer serviceable. Milwaukee loses in the first round the next 3 years. It's not like, yo, Giannis is all of a sudden a terrible player. Like, you know what I mean? Now we move to the Lakers because you can go and use every star player in that scenario. You have to have star players, star role players in the NBA to compete for a championship. Has never happened to where you haven't had that. Ray Allen has to hit that shot in that game. It's just in order for LeBron's legacy, like I understand LeBron's the best player and all of that. So when you move to this year with the Lakers, before the playoffs started, what did I tell you guys? The Lakers role players are awful. I didn't wait till game 4 or 5 to tell you that. So when I see JJ Redick not play any of those guys down the stretch, the first time in NBA history that has ever happened, that's not a coincidence. These guys are awful. You know what I mean? So how can we judge a player based on winning or not winning when their team isn't up to snuff? And that's something that we knew when the trade happened. We said, okay, this is the move for the future. This year, they have to complete this roster. Okay? Last thing, because I know I'm on this long-ass road here I'm driving, right? Just to get next door. Defense. LUKA is a bad defender. I understand that. Okay? But number one, he has gotten better each year. When we like someone, as far as like as a collective, we give people breaks. When we don't like someone, their weakness becomes the worst thing ever in the history of the world. You know, like, you know, I'm not too old to remember, like, Steph Curry was a bad defender. Like, that was a thing. James Harden was a worse defender than Luka. If I don't know if people are young enough to remember, like, James Harden was a way worse defender than Luka. That's by eye test and by metrics. He has 4 years where he was one of the worst defenders of all time. Okay, by metrics, I'm talking about. So, but we gave now James Harden, today's James Harden, is as 2 years ago and for 3 years in a row, he was the best guard post defender in the league. He's still a very elite guard post defender. And basically what I'm saying is, as he got older, he noticed what his strengths were. He became more, passable on the perimeter, and then he became a good post defender. Okay. Steph Curry got stronger as he aged and became a better defender. We gave them time. Luka has already shown he's gotten better. Now, Zach Lowe, in the clip you showed me, the words that Zach Lowe used was, when Luka wants to defend, or when the moment is like when he has to defend, he will defend. That's when you don't like someone, and that's the terms you use. What I use is he's gotten better every year, like literally by metrics and by eye test. So why don't we say, okay, this guy is improving, not you have to be this now. Like, okay, he's improving. He's not Ben Simmons. He's not like ever not getting better ever. You know what I mean? So there, boom, that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, when I look at Luka, I see a limited defender. I see a player that teams are comfortable attacking. And what I find kind of inextricably tied to the bad defense is, like, kind of like the whining. And, like, not only will he occasionally get blown by, and everybody, the best defenders get beat. That's just a fact. You can't just say, isolate one or two plays and say, oh man, this guy can't defend. The best defenders get beat. But I think when you're looking at Luka, you'll have the situations where, he'll get beat defensively. He'll also, like, waste possessions where he's fussing about officiating. And to me, it's not always the defense. Like, he'll have turnovers where he's, like, trying to bait a foul and then loses the ball, and then he's whining and doesn't get back, and it gives a transition bucket. My thing that, he's a tremendous player. I'm not disputing that. But and maybe it happens in time, but I think when you're in these bigger playoff games and you're in a tight series, like, so the possessions matter more, and there's less room to have bad possessions. And whether you're having it because you're getting blown by, or you're having it because you lose a rebound and you're looking at the refs and Anthony Edwards comes down the baseline and dunks on you because you're almost not paying attention. Like, there's a lot of things that happen, and he's so great that there's an expectation that, man, you should realize this is hurting your team and you should tighten up in this area. And when I listen to what Zach Lowe said, that's where that's coming from. It's like, when he's focused on defending, he's smart. He can read the game a bit. He can get places positionally and be disruptive or be
But
effective or
that's not
impactful.
all of a
But
sudden though. That's you the way he's framing it and the way that you're agreeing with it is that it's all of a sudden. Like, when he decides to, when he chooses to. That's the way that your guys are framing it. But that's not the case. The case is,
what that's not, like, what I'm framing it as is that he's a player, and kind of what I started out by saying, he is a player that will let external things essentially distract him. And he's got to manage his own emotions in a way that he minimizes that in the game. We're not perfect. We're always gonna, miss a play, or argue a call here and there. But there's a range that he has to narrow that focus and get better. Because I think for a player as great as he is, there's too many possessions that are lost because he's mentally somewhere else, whether it's worrying about a call that didn't get made or something like that. And I think what the way I interpret it, Lo, is it's like, yeah, when he's kind of locks in and isn't bothered by that extra stuff, he's measurably more effective on
That's
both
what I
ends.
disagree with. Yeah, see, that's I know I'm hearing you right, and I know I read him right, and I
Yeah.
listened to Zach Rowe correctly. When he locks in, that's 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 just not accurate. That's not fundamentally accurate because he's a guy who has gotten better. What you guys are basically saying, that he has an off-on switch. That's what you guys are saying. He has an off-on switch when he decides he wants to lock in and play defense or not. And when he's distracted, if you will, that's an off-on switch. That's what that is. That's not what's going on here. He has.
That is
That's
what
not. He's a guy who has gotten better each year on the defensive end. Because if he's a guy who can switch it off and on, what happened in year 2, 3 when that switch wasn't there? When he was just plainly, flat out a really bad defender. There was no switch. You understand? So what I'm saying is he's a guy
well,
who has gotten better each year.
to say well that's fine. He can get better each year, but he could still also be easily distracted. They're not mutually
I don't
exclusive.
think the distraction has much to do with the defense. To say any is useless or not correct. But it's not solely attached to the defense.
It's on both ends, and I said that.
Yeah, with offensive and turnovers.
And also have to think like defense. If I turn the ball over above the foul line offensively, and I don't get back or don't move, that's defense. It's the transition that I'm losing. And a lot of these problems, like a lot of your defensive problems, it's not purely playing defense. It's not transitioning from offense to defense quickly. And again, even if I drive and then and Dwayne Wade was notorious for this. Like I drive, I feel like there's contact. I either lay on the ground an extra second or turn to the referee for 2 seconds and I'm not engaged in getting back. I'm not defending. Now, it's not like a set defensive situation where I'm guarding my guy and I can't keep him in front of me. But those are all valuable possessions that turn games, and it's magnified in the playoffs when the games are close.
Yes, and no.
I mean, that's just not. As possessions.
Yes.
And the more efficient you are, whether it's an offensive possession, a defensive possession, and then the transitions are both ways. And if you win games if you're just more efficient on a possession by possession.
You are correct in that. I'm saying that all of that doesn't correlate and attach to Luka Doncic. Now, this is something I have to go to stats. I just looked it up, but as you're talking, I'm like, okay, I don't think that to be true. So yeah, like as far as like turnovers, he's not even like top 3. He's technically tied for 5th. But like for example, in this postseason alone, Anthony Edwards is higher, averages more turnovers than Luka. Okay, along with Brunson and 2 other guys. Okay. And in the regular season, turnovers per game, he's like 8th or 9th. Okay, so when again, I know from eye test we see, and he may have a high turnover game here or there, but like overall, and then also my larger point is, if Luka was an all-world defender with this offense, they're not getting out of this series. And so I think people's focus, let me finish. I think people's focus is in the wrong area. He's a weak defender and he needs to continue to get better. Yes. Can his conditioning probably get better? Yes, I think that's even overplayed too, the conditioning part. But anyway, those two places probably can get better. But those are marginal as far as winning and losing playoff games. Those are marginal pieces to get better. What you need is your one center you have on your roster to be better enough to play more than 4 minutes in a fucking playoff game. That's what you need. You need LeBron James, who is the second star on the team, your second max player. You only have 2 max players on the team. And he's the GOAT. He's old. I know he's old and he's a GOAT to a lot of people. I understand all that. But I'm saying for LUKA, what LUKA needs is his star running mate to score more than 0 points in each clutch moment in each fourth quarter of the playoffs. You have to have that to win a game. You have to have role players. You have to have your second star do something offensively. LUKA is the only person who can manufacture anything on offense. You need Austin Reeves to look like regular season Austin Reeves and not this Spider-Man guy who's playing now. If you don't have those things, you're not winning. If LUKA was Kawhi Leonard in 2015, if he was Scottie Pippen in fucking 99, you have to have these things or you're losing. That's my point overall.